The stars outside the window moved like slow waves. Tarin, a pilot of Earth's defense fleet, sat alone in the small cockpit of his ship, the Sci-Fi. The ship was old but strong. Like him, he had flown through many battles, seen planets burn, and watched friends disappear into silence. But now, he was on his final mission. The enemy was called the Raelin, a powerful alien race that attacked human colonies across the galaxy. No one knew where the Raelin came from. They didn't speak, didn't trade, didn't stop. They only advanced. Earth had been fighting them for years. Some thought the war was almost over. Others believed it would never end. Tarin had a simple task: deliver a coded message to a hidden base on the edge of the system. A base Earth could not afford to lose. His ship carried no weapons, only speed and the message inside its system. He liked it that way, fast and focused. As he passed near a dark moon, alarms suddenly screamed. A shadow crossed his screen. It was a Raelin scout ship, silent and deadly. Tarin had no weapons to fight back. He pushed the engines to full power. Weaving through asteroid fields and thick clouds, the scout followed, firing blasts of bright blue light. A sharp jolt threw Tarin against his seat. One wing was hit. The ship spun. Sparks flew. Systems began to fail one by one. He looked at the main screen. The ship was heading straight toward the surface of the moon. He only had seconds. Emergency protocol, he whispered. The ship responded. A clear voice said, "Stasis pod activating. Preparing for crash." Tarin grabbed the pilot's badge from his chest and held it tightly. The ship grew cold as the pod closed around him. Everything turned white. Then silence. Time passed. Not minutes, not days, but years. Hundreds of them. Outside, dust covered the broken ship. Trees with glowing leaves grew around the crash site. Strange birds flew in the sky. The war continued in the stars above, but this moon was quiet. Then one day, a soft beep came from inside the ship. The pod opened with a slow hiss. Lights blinked. Tarin's eyes opened. He coughed, trying to sit up. His body felt weak, and the air smelled different. His vision was blurry, but he was alive. "Ship status," he said. A broken voice replied, "Crash confirmed." Time passed. 300 years. For months, Tarin froze. 300 years? He climbed out of the pod. Everything was covered in dust. The controls were cold. Screens cracked. But the air outside was safe to breathe. He stepped out and looked around. The sky was soft purple. The trees looked nothing like Earth's forests. His ship was half buried. No sign of battle. No Raelin. No humans. Just silence. He activated a small device on his wrist. It scanned the sky for signals. At first, nothing. Then a weak human signal. A distress code. Old, but still running. Tarin's heart beat faster. There are still humans out there. He checked the direction of the signal. It was coming from the north side of the moon. Not far. He packed what little gear he had left, a water filter, a small scanner, and the badge he carried since training day. As he walked through the strange forest, he noticed the signs. Broken machines half buried in vines, old boots near a rock, the helmet split in two. People had been here before. The path was not easy. The ground was soft and the plants strange, but he kept going. He had to find who sent the signal. Hours later, he reached a small cliff. Below it, hidden by thick trees, was a metal door. Faded letters on the door read, "Station Great Wealth." He knocked twice. No answer. He waited, then knocked again. This time, the door opened just a little. A young face peeked out, eyes wide. The girl looked shocked. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Tarin," he said. "Pilot, Earth Defense Fleet. I received your signal." She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she opened the door wider. "Come in," she said. Inside, it was dark and quiet. People sat near old lights. Children played with old wires. A woman with short hair stepped forward. "I'm Mira, leader of this station," you said. "Earth Defense?" Tarin nodded. She looked stunned. "That fleet ended long ago." Tarin looked around. These people were tired, worn, and quiet. But they were human. They were alive. "What happened?" he asked. Mira sighed. "The war never ended." The railing kept coming. Earth is no longer Earth. We're what's left, drifters, some call us. Survivors. Tarin felt something heavy in his chest. He had slept for centuries while the war continued. While people like Mira kept surviving, he sat down, still trying to understand. Everything he knew was gone. But one thing was clear now: the fight wasn't over. And maybe, just maybe, his return had a purpose. Tarin sat beside a small fire inside Station Great Welf. The underground room was quiet. Children whispered in the corner, and adults watched him carefully. Everyone seemed both curious and unsure. They had never seen a man in a pilot suit from the Earth Defense Fleet. Not in real life. To them, he was a figure from a history story, someone from a time they had only heard about in broken data. Logs dot across from him. Mira poured water into 2 old metal cups. She handed one to Tarin. "It's not much," she said, "but it's warm." Tarin nodded and took a sip. The water tasted slightly bitter but clean. "Thank you," he said. Mira sat down beside him. "You really came from the past?" Tarin nodded slowly. "My ship crashed during a mission. The stasis pod kept me alive. It was only supposed to last a few weeks, but something went wrong. When I woke up, the system said 300 years had passed." Mira leaned back, watching the flames. "That explains your suit. It's old, but strong. No one uses that model anymore. We thought the war was long over back then. Guess we were wrong." Tarin looked around at the room, the walls covered in rust, the lights flickering. "What happened to Earth?" Mira was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "No one really knows. The last signals from Earth stopped about 100 years ago. Some say the planet fell. Others believe the leaders went underground. But no help ever came, so people started moving, surviving. This moon was once a fuel stop. Now, it's a hiding place." Tarin's eyes narrowed. "And the Raylan?" Mira looked serious. "They never stopped hunting. They changed tactics. They stopped big attacks and started picking off small groups, cutting communication lines, blocking signals. We're scattered now, hidden. We call ourselves drifters because we have no home." Tarin stared at the flame, deep in thought. Everything had changed. His world was gone. But the war had not ended. It had just become silent suddenly. A young boy rushed in. "Mira." The signal again. Mira stood up quickly. "Show me." She walked to the back of the room where a small screen blinked. Tarin followed. The boy pointed. "It's the same pattern. Short pulse, long pause, then repeat." Mira frowned. "That's not ours." Tarin leaned forward. "That's an old Earth code, used only during emergencies." Mira looked at him. "You know it?" He nodded. "It's a distress signal from a secure base. One I recognize." Mira stared at him. "How far?" Tarin checked the screen. "Maybe it's a day's walk, northeast, through the old frost fields." Mira crossed her arms. "That area is dangerous. Raylan scouts pass through there." Tarin looked at her. "If someone is sending that signal, they need help. It could be survivors. It could be old tech. Either way, we can't ignore it." Mira sighed. "We don't have many people. If we send a team and something happens," Tarin said gently, "then I'll go alone." "No," Mira said quickly. "If the Raylan are there, you won't stand a chance." "I'm a trained pilot," Tarin said, "and I've survived worse." Mira studied him after a long pause. She nodded. "You won't go alone. I'll send it with you. 1 scout and 1 engineer, just in case." Tarin smiled a little. "Thank you." The next morning, Tarin stood near the station's exit, wearing a repaired version of his old flight jacket. Beside him stood a young boy named Keo, quiet but alert, with sharp eyes and a small sensor pack on his back. The other was a man named Bran, older, with clever hands and a kind face. He carried tools, wires, and a device that looked like a half-broken radar. Mira stepped forward. "Keo knows the path. Bran knows how to open old systems. You follow Keo's lead, and you stay hidden." Tarin nodded. "We'll be careful." Mira handed him a small silver badge. "This was found in a broken base near here. Some say it belonged to a commander. Thought you might want it." Tarin looked at the badge. It had the Earth symbol on it, half a sun, half a star. He took it quietly. Thank you. With one last look, the group moved out. The metal door of the station closed behind them. The frost fields were cold and silent. White grass covered the ground. Frozen trees stood like statues, every step crunched under their boots. Tarin walked between Keo and Bran, keeping his eyes on the sky. Keo stopped suddenly and held up a hand. Quiet, he whispered. Everyone froze. A soft hum passed overhead. A small black drone hovered in the distance, its lights blinking slowly. Tarin whispered. Raylan. Keo nodded. Scout drone. If it sees us, more will come. They dropped low behind a large rock. The drone passed without noticing. Everyone let out a quiet breath. Let's move, Keo said softly. They kept walking, careful and quiet. Hours passed. Then, as night approached, they saw something up ahead. A metal tower, broken in half, stuck out of the ground. Round it were pieces of walls, machines, and wires. Tarin stepped forward. This is it, he said. One of the old bases. I remember this design. Bran pulled out his tools. Let's see if we can open it. They worked quickly, clearing debris, connecting wires, and powering up a small console. The screen blinked. A voice came through, broken and faint. This is Station Emberlight. Emergency signal. System damage, request support. Tarin's eyes widened. Emberlight. That's not just a base. It's a defense system, a weapon. One that was never finished. Bran looked up. You know this place? Tarin nodded slowly. If we can bring it online, it could change everything. Keo looked around. But we're not alone here. Everyone turned. In the distance, small lights moved between the trees. Scouts. Watching. Waiting. Tarin stood quietly beside the broken wall of the old station. Cold wind passed through the air, carrying a deep silence. His eyes stayed on the trees where strange lights had flickered moments ago. He knew what those lights meant. They saw us, he said softly. Keo stepped closer. Raylan scouts, they won't attack right away. They'll wait. Bran checked his tools and the blinking console. We need time. If we can start the system and find what's working, maybe we can send a full signal to Mira. Tarin looked at the half-buried tower again. This wasn't just any base. This was part of Emberlight, a powerful system Earth had planned during the early days of the war. It was never finished. But if they could wake it up now, it might give humans a real chance. How long do you need? Tarin asked. Bran rubbed his chin. Maybe 2 hours, maybe more. Depends on what's left inside. Tarin nodded. Start now. I'll help watch the outside. Keo walked with Tarin around the edge of the broken site. The boy was quiet, but sharp. He moved like someone used to danger. You've done this before? Tarin asked. Keo nodded. I was 10 when I joined a scout team. I'm 15 now. Tarin was surprised. Keo was young, but strong for his age. You're good, Tarin said honestly. Keo gave a small smile. Not good, just still alive. They stopped near a piece of broken wall. Tarin knelt and picked up a piece of metal. It had a faded symbol on it, half sun, half star. This was once hope, he said. Earth wanted to build this system to end the war. But we were too late. Keo looked at the symbol. Do you think we're too late now? Tarin stood. No, if people like you are still here. We're not too late. Back inside, Bran worked quickly. Sparks flew as he connected wires. Lights on the console blinked slowly, then faster. A faint humming sound came from deep underground. Bran smiled. Something's still alive down there. Tarin joined him. What is it? Bran pressed a few buttons. Main power is off, but the backup core is stable. And look, some of the satellites are still in orbit. Tarin's eyes widened. That means Emberlight isn't dead, just sleeping. If we send a restart command, the system may begin waking up, Bran said. Tarin looked at the screen. Do it. Bran entered the command. The screen flashed. Then a voice came through, faint but clear. Emberlight system core restart. In progress, awaiting command authorization. Tarin stepped forward. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver badge Mira had given him. It was once used by commanders to access secure systems. He He placed it on the console. Authorization accepted. The voice said. Kyo stared at the screen. Did it work? Tarin nodded. We just lit a match. Let's hope someone sees the flame. Outside. The wind picked up. The trees moved. Kyo tensed. They're closer, he said. Tarin looked through a crack in the wall. Figures move in the distant stall. Thin shapes with glowing eyes. They're watching, Tarin said. They're waiting to see what we're doing. Bran looked nervous. If they attack before the system finishes waking up, we can't let that happen, Tarin said. He turned to Kyo. We need a distraction. Kyo's eyes lit up. There's an old human scout bike nearby. I saw it on the way here. It might still work. Can you ride it? Tarin asked. Kyo nodded. Fast enough to make noise and lead them away. Bran looked worried. That's too risky. Kyo smiled. I'm small. I can move fast. You and Tarin are more important. Tarin placed a hand on Kyo's shoulder. Be careful. Only go if the engine starts. Kyo ran off quickly. Tarin and Bran returned to the console. The screen showed signs of life. A small map appeared, showing several satellites above the planet. Some were dark, but a few glowed faintly. Bran pointed. These 3 are still moving. If we can connect them, we can send a signal far beyond this moon. Tarin's face grew serious. To the other drifter camps, yes, Bran said. Maybe even to the old colonies. A loud sound outside made them jump. Engines. Kyo had started the scout bike. The sound roared through the air. Tarin ran outside and saw the boy speeding across the frost field, making loops and noise. From the forest, dark shapes rushed after him. They took the bait, Tarin said. He ran back in. We don't have long. Bran worked fast. He tapped into the remaining power and sent out the signal. A green light blinked on the screen. Signal sent. Bran said, now we wait. In our past, the system kept humming. The voice repeated, restart in progress, satellite link stable, defense systems waking. Tarin stood outside, scanning the trees. He felt the cold in his bones, but he didn't move. His eyes searched for signs of Kyo. Then, from the forest, a shape appeared. It was Kyo. Running on foot, breathing hard. Tarin rushed to him. You made it, Kyo nodded, falling to his knees. Bike broke. I ran the rest. Tarin helped him up. You did great. Bran stepped out. The signal reached Mira. She's sending support. Other groups heard it too. People are coming. Tarin smiled. Then this is only the beginning. He looked up at the sky. For the first time in a long time, he saw something beautiful. A satellite blinking, slowly waking up after centuries of sleep. Hope had returned, and the war that never ended was about to change. Now fell gently from the sky. The frost moon was quiet again, but something had changed. Beneath the ground, inside the broken base, the old system known as Emberlight had started to come alive. Tarin stood near the glowing console with Mira's voice crackling through a small speaker. We got your signal, she said. It reached us, and others too. People are talking. Some haven't spoken to each other in years. Tarin smiled. Good. That means we're not alone anymore. Mira's voice grew serious. But we picked up something else too. A Raylan warship is moving through the outer system, large, strong, and heading toward your moon. Tarin's smile faded. How long? Maybe 3 days, Mira replied. I'll send help, but you'll have to hold the site until then. The signal ended. Tarin looked at Bran and Kyo, who were resting nearby. 3 days, he said. That's all the time we have. Bran stood. We've activated part of the system. But Emberlight is not finished. The real power is still buried. Tarin nodded. I remember. The main control core was hidden beneath the ice. It was the heart of the whole weapon. Kyo frowned. A weapon? Tarin looked at him. Not a normal weapon. Emberlight was built to defend Earth's sky. It could block ships, scan fleets, and create a protective net across planets. If we can bring it back, humans might finally have a shield. Bran looked worried. But it was never completed. What if something goes wrong? Tarin's eyes were calm. Then we fix it. The next morning, the group began preparing for the search. Bran found an old tunnel beneath the tower. It led deeper into the frozen mountain, where the core was. Hidden long ago, Tarin carried a small lamp and walked in front. The air grew colder as they moved. Ice covered the walls. Pipes ran along the ceiling, some broken, some frozen shut. "I've been here before," Tarin said. "During training. This place was top secret." Keo looked around. "Why hide something like this?" "Because we were afraid," Tarin answered. "Afraid we'd lose everything. This was our last plan if the skies fell." At last, they reached a large metal door. It was thick, strong, and sealed shut. Bran examined the lock. "The main power won't open this, but the badge you used earlier might." Tarin stepped forward and placed the badge on the reader. The door made a loud click, then slowly opened. Cold air rushed out. Inside, they saw a large room filled with old machines. In the center stood a tall column of glowing blue light, the core of Ember Light. Bran stepped closer. "It's still alive." Tarin walked around the machines, checking the systems. "We need to connect this to the satellite network. If we do, Ember Light will come online." Keo pointed to a broken cable. "What about that?" Bran nodded. "That's our link to the tower above. If we fix it, we can send a full command to the sky." Tarin smiled. "Then let's fix it." The team worked all day. Bran connected wires and repaired circuits. Keo moved quickly, helping where he could. Tarin studied the old systems, guiding them through forgotten steps. Each hour, the core grew brighter. By night, the room felt warmer, full of soft humming sounds and blinking lights. But outside, danger was drawing closer. Tarin walked to the surface. He stood on a cliff, looking up at the stars. The sky was clear, but far away, one light moved differently. It was not a star. It was a ship. "They're coming," he whispered back. Inside, Bran gave a thumbs up. "The core is ready. We just need one last connection." Tarin nodded. "Good. Tomorrow, we finish it." Keo looked nervous. "Will it be enough?" Tarin placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're not trying to win the war today. We're trying to light a fire." The next morning, the cold wind blew stronger. Ice cracked beneath their feet. But inside the control room, the team was ready. Tarin stood beside the console. He looked at Bran. "Send the final command." Bran entered the code. Lights flashed. The tower above shook slightly. A signal raced upward, reaching the satellites that still circled the planet. One by one, small green dots appeared on the screen. Connected, connected, connected. Then the map changed. A large circle of light formed over the region. A signal was sent across nearby systems. Ember Light was online. Tarin stared at the screen. "We've done it." Keo laughed softly. "It's working." Bran smiled wide. "For the first time in my life, I think we have a chance." Suddenly, the console beeped. A red warning flashed. Large object detected. Incoming ship. Tarin read the data. "The Raylan ship, it's here." Bran's face turned pale. "What do we do now?" Tarin's voice was steady. "We protect the core. We don't let them take it." Keo looked at the sky. "But we're only 3 people." Tarin nodded. "Then we fight like 3,000. Hours later, as the sun set, shadows moved on the far side of the forest. The sky darkened. Above, the large Raylan ship hovered silently, watching. Tarin stood at the edge of the tower, holding a signal light. "If they want this place," he said, "they'll have to come down for it." Inside the base, Bran sealed the core room. "No matter what happens, they can't reach this." Keo checked the sensors. Movement, many of them. Tarin took a deep breath. "Let's slow them down." As the first night of the defense began, Tarin looked up at the stars. For 300 years, he had been asleep. Now he was awake, and Earth's fire had just been lit again. The sky was dark now, with only the stars and the glowing Raylan ship above. It hovered like a silent storm cloud, watching everything below. The moon's surface was still, but Tarin could feel the pressure in the air. Something was coming. Inside the base, Ember Light's system showed blinking lights. The defense satellite net had formed above the region, and signals were being sent out across nearby sectors. Other human groups were receiving them, proof that something strong still remained. But Tauri knew the Raylan would not allow this system to stay online. If they understood what Emberlight could do, they would send everything they had to destroy it. Bran sat by the console, tapping buttons quickly. The core is holding steady. But if the main tower is damaged, we'll lose contact with the satellites. Keo stood by the window with a small scope. I see movement, he said. Shadows near the ridge. Taran grabbed his jacket and stood up. Then we don't have much time. He walked to the door and looked back at the others. We can't let them reach the tower. If they destroy that, Emberlight goes dark again. Bran looked nervous. There are too many of them. We don't have weapons. Taran nodded. We'll use what we have: speed, light, noise. Our goal isn't to fight them head-on. It's to delay them long enough for Mira to arrive. Keo asked, You think she'll make it? Taran smiled slightly. She said she would, and I believe her. Outside, cold wind moved through the broken trees. Taran, Keo, and Bran placed small motion lights along the edges of the path leading to the tower. Each light was set to flash and make a loud buzzing noise when triggered. If they move through here, Taran said, they'll show themselves. Keo placed the last light behind a rock. What do we do after that? Taran looked toward the forest. We distract them, keep them busy. Long enough, suddenly, one of the lights blinked red. Then another. Then 3 more. They're here, Keo said. From the trees, dark shapes appeared tall, thin figures with smooth armor and glowing eyes. The Raylan moved slowly, carefully, studying the ground. They were silent, but they came in numbers. Bran whispered, They don't rush, they watch. That's how they fight, Taran said. They study first, strike later. We use that. He pulled out a small flare and lit it. A bright red light shot into the sky, drawing attention. The Raylan turned toward the flare. Taran shouted from behind a rock. Over here, a group of Raylan broke off and moved in his direction. Keo threw another light and made a loud whistling sound. The rest of the Raylan split. Unsure where to go, Bran activated a siren from the console. A loud hum echoed across the base, causing even the trees to shake. The enemies slowed. They were confused. That's what Taran wanted. They don't know how many of us are here, he said. Let them guess. For nearly an hour, the small team ran from one side of the base to another, setting distractions, making noise, and drawing the Raylan away from the main tower. The creatures searched, broke doors, and scanned walls, but they never reached the core. Then, everything stopped. The Raylan paused. Keo looked out from behind a wall. They're regrouping. Taran stood beside him. They figured it out. Bran called from the console. Taran, the sky look. They all turned and looked up. In the distance, a trail of light was cutting across the stars. A human ship. Mira. The Raylan looked up too. The warship above them moved suddenly. A beam of energy shot from the Raylan ship toward the sky, aiming at Mira's ship. But something else happened. The sky lit up not from the Raylan's beam, but from above the planet. 3 satellites that had connected to Emberlight's core now glowed with golden light. A shield appeared, thin and shining like glass. The Raylan beam hit it and stopped. Taran's eyes widened. It worked. Emberlight had activated its first true defensive sky shield. Mira's ship passed through the shield and landed beyond the ridge. A signal came through the speaker. This is Mira. I brought 6 fighters and 1 cargo truck. We saw the shield. We're moving to you. Bran clapped his hands. She made it. Keo smiled wide. And not alone. Taran grabbed the signal device. Mira, the Raylan are inside the base area. We've kept them from the tower, but they're getting smarter. We'll handle them together, she replied. Hold your position. Minutes later, Mira and her small team reached the base. They were tired but ready. Some carried tools. Others had signal jammers and flash gear. No real weapons, just old tech made for defense. Taran and Mira met outside the tower. You lit the fire, she said. And now the others are starting to see it. Taran nodded. Emberlight is online. The shield worked. If we protect this place, we can restart the system on other moons. Mira looked at the ridge. And what about the Raylan? Taran glanced at the sky. They know we're not hiding anymore. That's what matters. Together. The 2 teams worked through the night. locking down the core, setting traps, and sending signals out to every human camp in the area. By morning, dozens of replies came back. Signal received. We see the light. Coming soon. Hope was no longer a whisper. It was a signal, a shield, a fire that would spread. The sky was no longer quiet. For the first time in many years, it glowed with signs of life, not just the stars, but signals, lights, and messages passing between human camps and colonies. Emberlight, the long-forgotten defense system, had returned, and with it, so had hope. Tarin stood at the edge of the command post, looking at the shield above. It shimmered like glass, glowing soft gold against the morning sky. Behind it, the Raylan warship still floated, but it no longer attacked. It only watched. They're waiting, Mira said, walking beside him. Tarin nodded. They've never seen humans fight like this before. Not together. Mira looked around the old base, now full of people working, fixing walls, setting up lights, connecting wires. People arriving every hour, she said. Old groups, some I thought were gone. Keo ran up to them, his face full of energy. A team from Base Loon arrived. They brought tools, old maps, even a drone. Bran followed behind him, and a small reactor core. With this, we can give Emberlight full power. Tarin smiled. Good. Then we don't just protect this place, we build more. Over the next days, the base changed completely. What was once broken and half buried became a center of connection. People came from across the system, some walking, some in old ships. They brought parts, news, and stories. One group arrived in a large cargo hauler with painted words on the side. We still stand. They said they had been hiding on a dead planet, waiting for a sign. Emberlight was that sign. Another small group came from an abandoned mining colony. Their leader, an old man named Yarrow, said, We didn't think anyone was left, but now we know we're not alone. Tarin listened to each story carefully. These people had survived so long in silence. Now they were coming back to the light inside the control room. Bran and his new helpers connected the main reactor to the core. The console glowed brighter than ever. We now have power to activate the full satellite net, Bran said. That means we can protect more places, not just this moon. Tarin leaned forward. How many satellites still work? Bran smiled. At least 15 across nearby sectors. Some old, but stable. Mira joined them. And what about sending a message farther out, to deep colonies? Maybe even Earth? The room grew quiet. Tarin answered, We can try. If Earth still listens, it will hear us. That night, the team sent out a long-range message from Emberlight. It was a simple signal. No threat, no fear. Just a short message repeated again and again. We are alive. Emberlight burns. Humanity rises again. Hours passed. Then, a reply. Signal received. New London colony responding. We are with you. Bran gasped. New London. That's far. That's deep space. Another message came. Freeport listens. We stand with you. Then another. Old Mars base still active. We follow the light. One by one, lights on the map turned green. Tarin stared at the screen. His hands shook. We're waking up, he whispered. After all this time, humanity is waking up. But the Raylan were not gone. Each night, their ships moved in the distance. Small drones tested the shield. Ground scouts watched from the woods. They had not attacked again, but they were learning. Tarin knew they would not stay quiet for long. We can't just wait, he told Mira. We've made the first move. Now they'll make theirs. What do you want to do? She asked. We need to take control, he said. Not just defend one place, but spread Emberlight across the sector. Build a net they can't break. Mira nodded slowly. It won't be easy. They'll try to stop us. Tarin's voice was calm. Then we give them something to fear. Not because we attack, but because we stand together. The next morning, a small fleet of old human ships lifted into the sky. They carried supplies, cables, and signal repeaters. Their mission was clear. Find the other Emberlight stations hidden across the system and bring them online. Tarin flew with the first team. Inside his ship newly fixed from the crash, he sat in the pilot's seat, Keo beside him, Ready? Tarin asked. Keo smiled. Always. As the ship rose, Keo looked down at the base. Do you think this will work? Tarin nodded. It already has. The fleet spread out, reaching abandoned satellites, buried bases, and secret outposts once lost to time. Each day, more lights turned green. The Emberlight system grew stronger. And with it, so did humanity. New colonies spoke again. Forgotten leaders returned. Groups that had once hidden in caves now stood in the open. The Raylan watched from afar. But for the first time in 300 years, they did not move forward. They waited. Because the light they once tried to crush had returned, and it was growing. Back at the main base, Mira stood near the tower, watching the sky. Bran walked up beside her. You think he'll come back soon? She smiled. He always does. A voice came through the speaker. It was Tarin. Mission 1 complete. First station active. Emberlight is spreading. Bran gave a quiet cheer. Mira looked at the sky again. The war was not over. But now, it had a new shape. No longer silent. No longer scattered. Now, it was afire. And the stars were beginning to glow with it. Terran's ship flew through the stars like a spark carried by the wind. Behind him, the trail of light from his fleet stretched across space. The Emberlight network was growing. Satellite by satellite, base by base, humans were connecting again. Inside the cockpit, Keo adjusted the controls. Next stop, the last silent node. He said. Tarin nodded. We activate this one, and the entire sector lights up. They were heading to Outpost Zephyr, an old station hidden in the belt of broken moons. Long ago, it had been one of the main control centers of Emberlight, but it had gone quiet during the fall. As they neared the outpost, a warning light blinked on. Something's close, Keo said, checking the screen. It's not one of ours. Tarin looked ahead. A dark shape moved through the space dust. It wasn't just one ship, it was many. Raylan ships. A full wing. They know what we're doing, Tarin said calmly, and they're afraid. Keo's voice lowered. Should we turn back? Tarin shook his head. No, we finished what we started. At the main base, Mira stood by the long-range screen. A red alert flashed. Raylan fleet moving near Zephyr outpost. Bran said, eyes wide. That's where Tarin is. Mira didn't panic. She simply said, send a signal to all friendly colonies. If they can help, now is the time. Bran nodded and began tapping commands. One by one, green lights turned yellow, then gold. Help was coming. Terran's ship flew low through the moon dust, hiding between rocks and shadows. The Raylan ships searched above, shining scanning beams down. But Tarin knew how to fly quiet. We can reach the station, he said. But we need to land fast. Zephyr appeared in the distance. Half covered in rock, it looked broken, but its core systems still glowed faintly. They landed near an old docking ring. Dust rose around the ship. Tarin stepped out first. The silence of the place felt heavy, but not dead. Inside the station, old lights flickered on as they walked in. Keo brushed dust off a screen. Still works, he said. Tarin found the main panel. He placed his hand on it. The system scanned. Him. Identity confirmed. Commander Tarin, Earth Defense. The lights turned bright. Systems powered up. The outpost woke from sleep. Outside, the Raylan fleet moved closer. Mira stood in the command room, watching many screens at once. They found him, Bran said. He lit up the Zephyr node. Mira's eyes stayed calm. Then we do our part. Across the system, human ships moved. Old freighters, scout ships, and even mining crafts now flew under one signal, Emberlight. One pilot spoke over the comms. For 300 years, we've been silent. Not today. Another voice said, for the ones we lost, and the ones still here. And another, for Commander Tarin. Let's bring him home. The fleet launched at Zephyr. Tarin watched the Raylan ships approach the outer ring. Keo looked worried. We can't stop all of them. We don't have to, Tarin said. We just need to hold until the others arrive. He activated the node. The signal burst from Zephyr like a star flare. Across the sector, it reached every base, ship, and human receiver. Emberlight was now complete. The last piece had fallen into place. Then shapes appeared in the distance, human ships, dozens of them. They flew fast, not to attack but to protect. They flew between Tarin and the Raylan, forming a shield of their own. The Raylan paused. They had never seen this before. Unity, strength. Hope. Tarin stepped out onto the Zephyr platform. Helmet off, his voice echoed through the channel. This is Commander Tarin of Earth. This system is human space. We do not seek war, but we will not disappear. His voice was calm but clear. The Raylan ship stayed for a few minutes, then slowly turned away. They left. Not in fear but in respect. They had seen the fire and knew it could no longer be ignored. Back at the base, the screen glowed with green lights. Emberlight now touched all corners of the system. Mira smiled. For the first time in many days. He did it, she whispered. Bran laughed softly. He really did. All across human space, messages flowed. Zephyr's online. We are united. Emberlight lives. Terran's ship returned later that day. As he stepped off, people gathered to see him. Some clapped, some simply nodded. He smiled at Mira. It's not over, but it's beginning. She nodded. A new kind of war. One made with connection, not silence. Tarin looked up at the sky. For the first time in a long time, it looked alive. 300 years ago. I thought it was the end, he said. But it was only the pause. Now, the stars were calling again, and humanity was ready to answer, together.